again, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of the Wrestling Huddle. I'm Review Sports Editor Mike Brown, joined by the guru of grappling, Bob Steer. Bob, the big match last week, Carrollton Marlington, my goodness, that was a surprise. I thought that would be a lot closer than it was, but Carrollton, came into the Duke Dome and really did a job.
Yeah, I mean, Carrollton definitely went into that match as the favorite.
Yeah.
I think anyone would say that. I'm sure even Coach Hamilton, recognized that a lot of things had to go their way in order for Marlington to come out with a win there. And unfortunately, none of the things that they needed to go their way went their way. A lot of the toss-up matches that you were hoping you could take a win that none of them fell their way. It was just one of those nights, unfortunately, for the Dukes.
Right. I think we were talking this year, going into this season, when you look at the lineups, Carrollton was probably hands down the best team in the NBC, and that's how it's played out this year.
That's how it's played out. I mean, top to bottom coming in, definitely on paper, they had the strongest lineup. 106 to 285.
Right.
They had really no holes. Maybe you could say at the top end they had a couple, but for the most part, they're very strong from top to bottom.
Right. And then obviously you covered the West Branch at Minerva match last week. The Warriors got it rolling and beat the Lions pretty handily.
Yeah, they did, and they had, West Branch has just been riddled with injuries this year, so they had a lot of guys getting some varsity experience that weren't in the lineup early in the year, and a lot of those guys have stepped up and done a good job for West Branch, and they were able to get some wins out of those guys, and a pretty comfortable road win. Sure.
And then I covered the Alliance at Louisville wrestling match last week. A good win for the Aviators. I mean, Alliance was down early and then got momentum going. Had some pins in a row there and really got it rolling, and recorded a nice NBC road win over the Leopards. And Alliance, as we said all along, a team really on the rise under Coach Craig Shaw.
They are definitely a team on the rise. It's been fun to watch them develop and mature over the course of the season. Some of their younger wrestlers, just see them, progress. I think specifically like Reese Wanuskis, 106, and I think he was early on at 113, but he's really developed as the season's gone on. A kid like Skylar Curry at 113, wasn't even on my radar early in the year, and he's really impressed me a couple times I've seen him. So, and the list goes on and on, but those are just a couple that jump out at me that you've really seen a solid progression in those guys.
Right, and the nice thing about Alliance is they've got a really dominant freshman class that I believe won the NBC 8th grade title last year. So Alliance is going to be good for years to come. And then you have Coach Shaw, who really knows how to motivate those guys. That's fun to watch.
It's going to be fun to see how they progress.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's turn the clock ahead to this week. Obviously, the big NBC match it's really a rematch. Even though this one counts in the NBC, the last one was in the state duels, but. We've got the Alliance Aviators entertaining the Marlington Dukes on Thursday night in Harry Fales Jr. Gym. How do you see that rematch, Bob? I mean, does it come down to certain matchups in that one?
Yeah, I would expect both coaches probably have some ideal matchups, especially since they've seen each other now.
Right, yeah.
So I think you're going to probably see some guys bumping around, maybe bumping up a weight or, bumping away from each other, trying to maximize points, because I think both coaches probably I think both coaches expect to win a very close match.
Right.
So in other words, it's a toss-up.
Yeah, it really is.
To anyone on the outside.
Yeah.
I think it's a toss-up match. I think it could go either way, absolutely.
Right.
Alliance took it the first time.
Yeah.
But when you look back at the results, I could see a couple matches that could have easily gone the other way.
Sure.
So, it'll be fun, because it is definitely a toss-up match, could go either way. And it could depend on some of those moves, that the coaches make, and sometimes those moves backfire on you too. So,
sure.
It's going to be fun to see how that plays out.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy involved in wrestling. A lot of people underestimate that, but really, these coaches do their homework in advance and say, well, if this guy goes here, I'm going to go here, and a lot of strategy involved in that.
Yeah, there is. I mean, when you go to tournaments, I mean, you're in your weight, and you're in that way through the tournament. But when in a dual situation, you can bump guys around. If someone weighs in at 145, but you think he can match up better at 152, you might slide him up a weight and stick someone else in. So, and there's a lot of that goes on.
Sure.
And it might only be one or two, but that one or two could be the difference in the match.
Absolutely.
Just bumping one guy and sticking someone else in that you think can hold their own or whatever.
Right.
So,
sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy involved in these duels.
Yeah, well, it should be I'm sure that'll be a big crowd, should be an electric atmosphere.
So.
That'll be a great match. Yep. And also on Thursday night, we've got another rivalry. We've got West Branch, which hasn't had many home duels this year, host the rival Salem Quakers. How do you see that one?
I don't see West Branch having much trouble with
Yeah,
Salem.
right.
Salem is still. I'll tell you, Salem impressed me at EOWL.
Yeah.
Talking to Coach Bo Marriage, he was real happy with every one of their guys won at least 1 or 2 matches, and it's not a super competitive tournament, but for their program, they've got better numbers now. They've got real strong numbers,
And they've
in the
got
junior
some
high
good
program.
individuals too.
And they do have a few
Yeah,
good individuals.
yeah.
I mean, there's going to be some fun matches to watch.
Right.
If we may get to see Byland against
Sure.
Hughes
Yep.
at 160,
Wow.
and Slocum. I don't know if they'll keep Slocum
Yeah.
at 82.
Yeah.
It could be a good matchup with Wilkie. So there's some potential good matches, but
Right.
overall, I think West Branch shouldn't have much problem.
Right, and then the other NBC match on Thursday night, and this is the last NBC week of the year. The Minerva Lions will go to Carrollton to face another rival in the Warriors and the NBC champion Warriors. So how do you see that one? It's a shame for Minerva this year because Dalton Hartshorn has been out a lot of the year with an injury, and I think that really hurts them because you're talking probably 6 points more in every match.
Yeah, I think this will be Carrollton's coronation.
Yeah, sure,
Winning the title outright.
Yeah, right.
Minerva doesn't have the firepower to beat Carrollton, but there's going to be some good individual
Sure.
matchups that Coach Hillier is going to be looking for. I'm sure that challenge some of his guys that are expecting to or hoping to make to Columbus.
Right.
They're going to get a good test against whoever that
Yeah.
weight is at Carrollton. So,
Absolutely.
so there'll be some good individual matches to watch, but I expect Carrollton will wrap up the outright NBC title.
Right, yeah.
And also, speaking of Hartshorn, I will say I talked to Coach Hilliard at the West Branch Minerva duel, and it sounds like Dalton will be back for sectionals,
Oh, that's
which
good.
is good.
Yeah.
I know he was on crutches for a while, and he was off crutches, but he was limping a little bit in our match against West Branch, but he was up moving around, moving around pretty good.
Yeah.
And they expect he should be back pretty close to 100%.
Well, that's good because you want to see the best wrestlers in the area
Definitely.
get their chance to get down to Columbus, and
Especially
obviously,
seniors.
and he's a good one. He's a real good one. I mean,
very
there's a
good.
kid that has a chance to place really high
Yep.
at the state level. So, well, I think that'll do it for this week. Until next week, for Bob Steer, this is Mike Brown. We'll see you on the mat.